You know what's gonna be really funny is when you'll see what I'll try to do here.
Biggest parry punish in the game. Damn.
Bong.
Get away from me. Don't speak to me. Yeah, I saw you get the light parry and I was like, yeah, okay, I know what the fuck. I know what's going on here.
Welcome back to another video. Today we are continuing our new series on how to actually play the game. First we had a guide on how the revenge system worked, then moved on to explore proper ganking mechanics, and now we arrive at how to fight properly while in large groups, or team fights. I've been lucky enough to learn the information of these past videos from playing and training with actual competitive players and participating in multiple official competitive tournaments. Although I am certainly not a pro-level player myself, these skills, and many more, are what the pro players have mastered to get to that level of play. I hope you all are able to learn something from this video and are able to improve your games as a result. I'd like to start with going over some basic strategies, then move on to some of the actual mechanics. There's a lot here, but all of it's important, so I encourage you to stay with me. One of the main rules of teamfighting is the team that plays for health, or keeps themselves alive, and peels for each other is the team that wins. If you don't know already, the term peeling means to save your teammate from taking damage. To give a quick example, your teammate just got guard broken. Instead of letting the opponent throw a heavy attack, you throw a light at that enemy to interrupt him and cancel his attack. You can peel for your teammates in many other scenario types, but this is the basic idea. There's also something called self-peeling, which just means using one of your own moves to interrupt a player that is attacking you. It's pretty self-explanatory, and zone attacks are usually great for this. Again, with the concept of peeling, it might seem weird, but you should almost always be going for parries when you see unblockables in a team fight. Of course, I'm not talking about the unlocked attacks, which we'll get into that later, but if an enemy is throwing an unblockable at you, you should absolutely go for the parry, because in the worst case scenario, your enemy feints to a guard break, and then your teammate can peel for you and you won't take any damage. This next piece goes with what I said earlier. Play for your health bar. If your option is to trade with your opponent or block, it's far better to just block and instead try getting that damage in later. No need to sacrifice when you don't need to. There are a few exceptions here, like if trading with your opponent will actually kill them, then by all means go for it. Taking a player out of the fight completely is one of the biggest momentum shifts in a group fight. You can also find trading favorable if you know that you're going to hit more than one enemy. That essentially means you're dealing twice as much damage, just spread across more than one person. Of course, never trade if you will die in the engagement. You always want to remain alive no matter how much damage you think you can do to your opponents. If you watch my last video about proper ganking, you know how easy it is to kill someone with proper ganks, and leaving your teammate short-handed is essentially a death sentence. To add on to playing for your health, it's good to understand what recovery cancels are. I'm sure y'all have seen Orochi or pirate players dodging around non-stop and are seemingly impossible to hit. They, like a few other characters, have the ability to dodge out of recovery frames where they would otherwise be vulnerable to attacks. These are a fantastic tool for avoiding damage, but there are also a few other types of recovery cancels, being backsteps and full guards. JJ and Nobushi can use their backstep mechanics to give themselves iframes to cancel their recoveries, and I've certainly avoided a lot of damage this way. You can also use characters like Aramusha, Blackprior, and Kyoshin, and use your full guard mechanics to counter attacks during times when normal heroes would otherwise be vulnerable. The last main strategy is to watch revenge tags. Getting revenge in a team fight is probably the biggest momentum shift and can absolutely mean the difference between winning and losing. When you notice a specific opponent nearly has revenge, call it out. Let your teammates know to avoid attacking that enemy until their revenge tags have dropped, and you can safely pressure them again. Next, I'd like to move on to some of the specific mechanics that will improve your team fighting abilities and give you the unsuspecting edge on your opponents. These first three mechanics are for anyone with dodge attacks. One is a defensive move, one is more aggressive, and the other is a bit of both. Let's start with a very defensive way to use dodge attacks. Say an opponent is locked onto me and trying to keep me in their mix-up, or forcing me to guess in a 50-50 scenario. Knowing that this is a bad situation for me, I can try and avoid his mix-up completely by locking on to a different opponent and dodge attacking away from my current attacker. The reason for this is while you are locked onto a different opponent, you will dodge much farther away from your current attacker. So far, in fact, that there is literally nothing that the enemy can do to harm you. Let the attack fly, you're too far away. Feigns to guard break, again, too far away. Keep attacking, you keep dodging on a different opponent and he can't catch up to you. Now, I do want to make a few things clear about this. You can use the same idea while just regularly dodging instead of doing a full-fledged dodge attack. The The reason for doing the actual attack part is because if your original opponent is close enough to you, they can still land a guard break on a regular dodge. However, actually dodge attacking gives you a greater chance that you will bounce their guard break attempt. When you use dodge attacks in an aggressive way, you use something I refer to as dodge attack tech. The idea with dodge attack tech is to be able to hurt or lock someone down in a team fight, all the while being very safe about it and reaping multiple benefits. For one, players know that parrying a dodge attack grants them a light parry punish, or simply put, a heavy attack. This makes players eager to parry any and all dodge attacks that they see, especially because all these types of dodge attacks can't be feinted and are stupid easy to react to. When they see these attacks being thrown, they can't help themselves but try and make a parry attempt. I also want to make clear that you can dodge attack tech with heavy attack dodges, but I just wanted to make this thing a clear distinction. I went over the idea of unlocked attacks in my How to Medjay video and why they are so important. This little mechanic will make more sense to you if you go watch that video, but long story short, you can only get parried by the opponent you are currently locked onto. And since your attack is not locked onto that first opponent can't parry you. This means they just have to block you or try and dodge your attack, because if they try and parry you, they're just going to end up getting hit. This works better with characters with large sweeping attacks, as you can often hit multiple opponents, and I certainly believe Medjay is the king when it comes to dodge attack teching. For the dodge attack tech that is both aggressive and defensive, what you are doing here is called locking down an opponent. You position yourself behind the opponent you want to harass, but keep that opponent between you and the guy you are actually locked onto. Then, simply dodge attack repeatedly, being sure to hit the enemy you're closest to. This makes it extremely hard for them to escape, and is a great way to peel for any allies in a group fight or brawl scenario. Moving on from dodge attacks altogether, let's talk about unlocked attacks. Again, the idea that players can only parry you when you are locked onto them is extremely valuable here, as this is the place to make use of those sweeping hitboxes. This is also what makes characters with unblockables that have large hitboxes so valuable, as they cover lots of ground, they can't be blocked, and only be parried by one of the enemies in a teamfight, and thus force everyone else to either dodge or take the damage. Another extremely helpful mechanic are external crushing counters. Unlike parrying, crushing counters or CCs work with any attack that is an unblockable that can hit you, regardless if that player is locked onto you or not. This is a great way to actually peel for yourself if you are being attacked by multiple targets, and you can use your CCs to hit enemies that get a little too close. This is also a great way to get out of defense and steal the offensive initiative.
Yes! That Scent's gotta be so pissed!
That was quite a lot of information pushed into one video, so a big thank you to everyone who stayed for the whole thing. Also, a massive shout out to my friends for helping me gather the clips and add more advice for today's video. This content would be nearly impossible to make without you. I may potentially make a part 2 to this video for more in-depth and even more specific interactions between certain characters, but that will mostly depend on the response to this video and whether you guys would actually like to see more of this content. I'd like to thank you all so very much for watching, take care, and remember to join the dark side.